I asked Hassan if he knew anything about Udai's beheading campaign.
They killed a woman at an apartment.
We saw it with our own eyes when they picked her up. Her head fell off.
Hassan's wife Rasha says she was actually an eyewitness to a beheading. She says the victim was a young mother who lived nearby, not a prostitute.
Can you just describe what happened on the day you saw this?
It was 11 o'clock at night. All the residents came out onto their balconies. It happened in a square nearby. We saw them dump a body in the square and cover it. Then they uncovered it. There were signs of torture on the body due to beating and slashing. After she was executed, her head remained attached to her body by a thin layer of skin. When they picked it up, the head separated from the body. They put the head in a trash can. She was killed in front of everyone.
How many men did you see involved in this, and what were they wearing?
Many men wearing black and carrying swords.
Black, of course, is the uniform of the Fedayeen.
How many?
We would later learn that the day after we interviewed Hassan and Rasha, Jordanian police raided their home. Simply for talking about Iraq, Hassan and his family were evicted. We intervened with Jordanian authorities and made certain they found a new place to live.
Hi, Karim. It's Sam. Hey, did you get the equipment list this morning? Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I just spoke to Afnan and I spoke last night. She said that we might get a visa tomorrow.
After 3 weeks in Amman, the Iraqi government has finally consented to let us come to Baghdad.
Oh, fantastic.
The road from Amman to Baghdad stretches 500 miles across featureless desert. Along the highway, a reminder of the source of Saddam's power. Truck after truck carrying Iraqi oil. We have a lot of questions from the propaganda war that we want answered. About Iraq's weapons and Saddam's claims that economic sanctions are killing his people. And of course, we want to pin down the truth behind those beheading stories. After a 15-hour journey, we arrive in Baghdad. From now on, I have to be careful. It's dangerous to film anywhere in Iraq without official permission. At my hotel, where all foreign journalists stay, the first thing I'm invited to do is wipe my feet on the face of a certain former American president.
Famous Al-Rashid, home to journalists and those who'd like to spy on them.
I'll be watched all the time.
Hello?
Journalists who stay here know that their rooms are bugged and searched.
We're being watched right now by a camera, almost certainly hidden in the air conditioning system.
But isn't it nice to know we're being properly looked after? The Ministry of Information will tightly control us. They've assigned us a minder. He will shadow us at all times.
What is your name?
My name is Samir.
Nice to meet you, Samir.
We're not supposed to film anything without his permission.
Where does he get his spare parts from?
I've brought an independent translator from Jordan, but I've just been told he won't be allowed to work with me.
We've been going just 10 minutes and already we've been told we can't have any fluent Arabic speaker to work for us other than that was supplied by the government. It's going to make our investigations rather difficult, and not least because it's practically impossible to ask a government translator whether or not this is the spot where Udai Hussein had someone's head cut off.
I'm officially here to cover the news, so I have to join the official press pack. Saddam is locked in a PR battle with George Bush, and he wants to use us as his pawns. Saddam says he has no weapons of mass destruction, and he'll prove it by taking journalists to inspect his factories.
We're on an F-16 Russian-built military helicopter, probably hasn't had a service in several years, flying on a government press trip to the phosphate mines of Akashat. there's a problem with the aeroplane. Rather unnervingly, half the crews just got off.
We have to change helicopters because of a fuel leak inside the aircraft. My first encounter with the Iraqi military machine hasn't exactly been impressive.
We still don't really know why we're here.
It turns out the Iraqis want to deny a claim made by the US that uranium oxide, known as yellow cake, is being processed here. Uranium can be extracted from yellow cake and then enriched to make an atomic bomb. The head of Iraq's missile program says only phosphates are made here.
This complex contains no plant for uranium extraction anywhere in Iraq. We have no such plant. You will see the plant and you can ask any question.
If I may interject, as we're going around so that I know what to look for, what does yellow cake look like?
Sorry?
I wouldn't know the difference between yellow cake and marzipan.
The buildings they show us were bombed by America in the Gulf War and are plainly not back in use. But then we're only shown one building among 70 at this complex. Our next trip is an hour-long bus ride out of Baghdad.
Well, we've come to another alleged weapons site. It's so sensitive they won't tell us where we are.
It turns out to be Tuwaitha, once the center of Saddam's nuclear program. Western intelligence agencies say he's still developing a bomb here. The Iraqis insist it's only used for pharmaceutical and agricultural research, and we can go anywhere we like.
Well, I'm definitely going to ask for a look in there. I want to go in there.
We are moving together.
Huh?
We are moving together with them.
No, we were told we can go wherever we like, so I'm going wherever I like.
We're herded around like it's a school outing. The Iraqis say this building is used for growing mushrooms.
And if there is no nuclear power in it, I can eat it now.
You're starting to grow fangs.
Other staff members are more evasive.
What kind of work goes on here?
Physics department.
Physics?
Yeah.
What kind of physics?
Different kinds.
Does any nuclear physics go on here?
Nuclear physics, I don't know what you mean with nuclear physics.
Could you ask these ladies what they do?
The person in charge of this building, this department, is talking over there.
So?
He's the one to talk to you.
Why can't I talk to them? Why don't they run away? I'd be afraid of them.
Just they don't want to talk.
I try a look down one of the corridors.
Well, we were told we could look around. What's in there? What's he making? He's got a Bunsen burner. What is that?
What's that?
If you push me, I'll break your arm. I just had a little look into a room where there was some kind of an experiment going on there, so they clearly not comfortable with me seeing anything. Got a firm shove in the middle of my back. Told to rejoin the gang. So much for free access.
Back in Baghdad, we try to check out the stories we heard in Amman about the beheadings of women. I have a list of places where my informants claim the executions happened. The first is Jumhuriyah Street. It's the busiest daytime market in Iraq. Exiles say 6 women were beheaded on this street outside a hotel called the Anwar. I want to lose the minder and find the hotel.
Let's see if we can spot the Anwar Hotel. Imagine the impact of executing somebody on a street this busy. Late afternoon, the crowds are at their highest. It'll certainly send a message. Where is that hotel? Hang back and just ask someone.
But I can't ask anyone. The minder's always on my shoulder.
Don't know how long we can keep this charade up without creating suspicions.
As I get close to the hotel district, the minder stops me.
We've been told that we can't film the junction behind me at the end of the road because there's a police station and they're worried that it'll be a target of American bombardment.